Ever play the keyboard and realize you're missing a sustain pedal? Yeah. Alright, jokes aside, so I have a keyboard and I need a sustain pedal and I can't be bothered to wait for next day delivery, so why not take this old computer keyboard and make some use out of it. So the first thing you want to do, obviously, take this thing apart, and we can see that it is made up of a bunch of traces and stuff and things. I don't know what they're called, but we want to get rid of the little microcontroller. Now under here you can see that the various traces do line up sort of in a grid pattern. That's how keyboards work, where you have the keys separated into rows and columns. So what we want to do is take all the pins relating to rows and separately all the pins relating to columns, and we want to group these so that all we're left with are two traces simply for the two pins of this wonderful 1/4" TRS jack. Now this is a stereo input, but all we need is the two pins marked on the screen. That is the tip and the ground pins. Another thing you might want to use is a soldering iron and a pair of wires. So what we're going to do first, order doesn't matter to be honest, is you're going to want to solder those two wires to the tip and ground pins of that TRS jack. Then you want to find out what the two groups of row pins and column pins on the microcontroller are. If we follow these traces, that we can see that we can scrape the protective coating off and then solder these together. Now, bearing in mind, this isn't the easiest job without any proper equipment, and as you have seen in the previous shot, my soldering iron costs less than 10 quid. So remember those two wires we had on that TRS jack? Well, one of them is going to go to one group of rows or columns, and the other to the other group. Doesn't matter which way you go, it's not really polarized, at least in this keyboard. Now depending on your keyboard, this might or might not work. With my keyboard, all that needs to happen for the sustain pedal to engage is simply two pins connecting. Doesn't matter which way, because a switch is not necessarily polarized. So once we've hooked up these two wires, you'll probably think to yourself, well, these are probably too weak, so you want to put a blob of glue in the wrong place. Okay, so once I've scraped that off, don't do what I just did, because that might ruin your whole project. You're going to put the microcontroller back on. Now I have tested this before putting everything on, simply by plugging this keyboard into the keyboard. And it does indeed work. So, in case you want to waste your time and money and not be patient and just use a sustain pedal like this one, yes, I did eventually get it. It's only been a whole day. Oh no. Now, please be careful when you do this. You're gonna break this keyboard, most likely. It might not work for you, and you might want to make sure that this type of switch type circuit would actually work for the sustain in your keyboard. I'm not actually sure if there is a different type of sustain pedal other than just a normal switch, and perhaps one that would use some kind of variable resistance. But yeah, there you go. I hope you liked this very quick video. It was purely random, and yeah.